Hi, my name is Danae Estabine, and this is a presentation on what Student Senate is and how it works. So here's just kind of an overview of the four main things that I'll be going over today. I'll first go over the purpose of Student Senate, kind of why it was created, and then I'll go into an introduction of the structures and organizations within Student Senate, of exactly how it functions. And next, I'll talk about the procedures of the legislation that goes through Student Senate, and then I'll finish up by talking about how you can get involved. So first, going into the purpose, here is the exact mission statement of KU Student Senate. And basically what it is it's just a tie between the student body and the greater KU community, so beyond just the students, in finding ways to make change across campus, whether that's on the students' behalf or the greater KU community behalf, just finding lasting solutions to different issues that we see are happening on campus. So here is an introduction of the structure of Student Senate. So we have three branches. So we function very closely to that of the actual US government. So we have the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. The executive branch is made up of the president and the vice president and the graduate student body president, and they hire seven other executive staff members. And the executive branch is in charge of just the internal administrative functions. So, working on the different platforms within Student Senate to make change across campus, and all the different administrative tasks is what the executive branch does. Then the legislative branch is the Speaker of the Assembly and the Internal Affairs Director, as well as all the elected senators who are the ones writing legislation and voting on it and doing those legislative tasks. Then the judicial branch is the Election Commission and the courts. So the Election Commission, they are a group of students that run the freshman/first year elections, which happen in the fall, and they also run the overall presidential, vice presidential, and Senate elections in the spring. And then there are also the courts, and those are the judges who handle disputes during the election season. So here is a graphic that can show you an outward look of how Student Senate functions beyond just the Student Senate space. So here you see we have Student Senate, which is what I just went over with the three different branches. And then there's also a staff Senate. So they have the staff here at KU has their own Senate that functions very closely to the way Student Senate functions, and same with the Faculty Senate. And then from all three of these different Senates, we have the University Senate, which sits at the top of all three of those. And so, as you see, we have representatives from each of these Senates that make up the University Senate. And sitting at the top of University Senate is this executive committee, better known as Senex. So next, going into the procedures of, bill writing, bill submission, and the life cycle of a bill. So one of the main things that Student Senate does is we write bills and resolutions. Bills are legislations that actually have an actionable item. So a lot of the bills you'll see going through Student Senate are funding bills. So they're bills to fund different student organizations. That's a big thing that Student Senate does is we have a certain amount of funds in which we allocate these different funds each year to different student organizations across campus. So senators will write bills on behalf of these student organizations to get them funding. However, it doesn't have to just be for funding. It could be for any type of change that you want to see on campus happen. it can also be a constitutional amendment. So within Student Senate, there is a Student Senate constitution, and so senators are oftentimes making amendments to that and different changes that they see need to happen within Student Senate to change the way it functions or certain rules that are followed. The second type of legislation you'll see are resolutions, and those are actionable items, but they're more of suggestions and advice for actions that should be taken. So if there should be taken. So if there is some sort of issue that you think the university or state representatives should take action on, or then you would write a resolution. And so a resolution is just saying that the KU Student Senate takes a particular stance on a certain issue, and then what you'll see at the bottom of resolutions is typically an addendum where they suggest that if the bill is passed, then this resolution needs to be sent to the chancellor or the provost or all of the state representatives or all of our federal representatives. And so then those resolutions are sent out to these different people in the public to make known that this is the stance that Student Senate and the student body is taking. So now going into the life cycle of a bill. So one is you have an idea for the bill you want to write of some sort of change that you want to see happen on campus, or a particular opinion that you think Student Senate needs to take if writing a resolution. And so then you will write that bill or resolution. And you can find templates to writing these on the Student Senate website, which if you watch the video, the how to use the Student Senate website video that is posted on the Student Senate YouTube channel, you can see exactly where you can access these templates. So you use the templates on there, either the bill one or the resolution one, to write either the bill or the resolution, and then you will submit it onto Rock Chalk Central. And then from there, the speaker and the coordinator of staff will formally format the bill and then assign it to a particular council. So within the legislative branch, there are three councils: the Finance Council, the Student Rights Council, and the Social Justice Council. And so the bill will be sent to two of those councils, and it will go through those councils, and then once it's passed in those councils, it will go to StudX. And StudX is made up of all of the executive branch, and then the Speaker of the Assembly, the Internal Affairs Director, and all three of the chairs from the three different councils. And so StudX will take a final vote on them, in which then after that, they will go to Assembly. And so that is when it is all of the student senators together in one assembly, and the bills are presented there in their final presentation and final stage. And then if passed there, then it will be sent to the student body president's desk to be signed into action, and then it will be considered complete and finished and actually happen. So as you just saw there, it is a three-step approach. You have the councils, the StudX, and Students' Assembly. And so it'll go to the councils, which again are the Finance Council, Student Rights Council, and the Social Justice Council. Then it'll go to StudX, and then Students' Assembly. And here is just an overview of some Senate policy guidelines to take note of, particularly passage of a bill. So here are just some rules that are followed, and these are all rules that are in the Student Senate Constitution, such as we need a simple majority to pass most of the legislation, but when it comes to constitutional amendments, then it's a 2/3 majority. And then attendance, we need quorum, So at least half of the voting members need to be in attendance in order for us to carry on with business as usual. And then here are some notes about funding. Previously, I talked about there's a lot of funding bills that happen in Student Senate. So here are just some key notes to take point of. And lastly, I'll go over involvement. Student councils and assembly meetings are Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. and we function on a 2-week cycle. So at the beginning of a cycle, the first meeting will be on a Wednesday, and that will be the councils. And then all the legislation that is passed there will then go to assembly, which will be the next Wednesday, will be the assembly meeting. And then once the legislation is passed there, then that is the end of one cycle, and then it starts all over again. Councils, and then the next week, assembly. Then that's the end of that cycle, and it just repeats like that over and over again, functioning in that 2-week cycle process. So if you're interested, then you should come to one of our council meetings. In order to gain voting rights, you have to attend 2 council meetings, and then you'll be able to vote on legislation. However, in order to vote in the full assembly, you have to be a student senator, and you either become a student senator by being elected, or you become a replacement senator. So if you're free Wednesday evenings, I highly suggest that you go to Student Senate. It is a great experience, and it's a great way to learn about all the different things that are happening across campus. And even if you're not a senator, you can still attend assembly meetings. You just won't be able to vote. So the only commitment to being a senator are Wednesday evenings. And if you're interested in becoming a senator or just getting involved in Student Senate, or maybe you want to write a piece of legislation, but you don't want to become a senator, then feel free to reach out to any of the executive staff, and all of our contacts can be found on the KU Student Senate website. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you learned something, and I hope that this made it a little bit easier to understand what Student Senate is and how it functions. So thank you. Rock Chalk.